For KARE 11 News at noon, a lot to get to before we head into the weekend, starting with the ongoing investigation into the deadly plane crash over the Potomac River. Officials are now looking for more answers on where the communications fell through. Plus, we know more about some of the victims linked to Minnesota. We'll get to all of that in a minute. But first, our unusually warm weather kind of continues today.
Yeah, it does. We are obviously aren't as warm as yesterday. We're not in the 50s, but we're right around 40 now, and we will be into the low 40s through the afternoon. And look at all of that sunshine we've had so far here from the morning and now here into the afternoon. Just a gorgeous looking day with all of that sun. And we should be mostly sunny through the majority of the afternoon, so that'll help us warm up a few more degrees into the low 40s. Holding on to 39 now in the metro, as warm as 42 in Mankato. Cooler weather to the north with a front sinking down, and that will lead to some moisture later this weekend, or at least the beginning parts of that front with a low back to the west. There's the clear skies over the area now, just some cloudiness up to the north, but there's the weekend moisture that'll start to move in late tonight to western Minnesota and then all across the area for tomorrow. So snow showers ahead for tomorrow, but another mild day. Next week, significantly colder for us. Today we're up into the low 40s though, and should be staying mostly sunny pretty much all day. Not as warm as yesterday, but just about as nice.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Mies. Well, today recovery divers are back in the waters of the Potomac River looking for remaining victims in Wednesday night's plane crash near Washington, D.C. Now the investigation focuses on if the air traffic control tower watching the plane and helicopter involved was fully staffed. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest.
Another somber day here at Reagan National Airport, where the investigation is ramping up into that tragic mid-air collision. Search crews have committed to recovering all 64 victims from the American Airlines regional passenger jet and all 3 from the U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. They have recovered some critical evidence, including the black box data and audio recorders from the passenger plane. And sources tell NBC News it is a priority to recover the data recorder from the Black Hawk helicopter, in part because that can give exact information on how high the helicopter was flying and whether it was above its designated altitude. NBC News has also confirmed through sources that there is an FAA preliminary report that notes that air traffic controller staffing was not normal during the time of the crash. Normally there is an air traffic controller handling helicopters and another for planes, and apparently at this time those 2 roles had been combined to one. That is something that happens and is considered acceptable under FAA safety guidelines. We're also getting a new look, new angles at the crash through some video that was first aired on CNN, and it's all part of the clues that investigators are working so hard to pull together to give answers to these devastated families as we're learning more about who these victims were, the terrible hit to the U.S. figure skating community, young, talented athletes, their families, their parents, their coaches returning from that premier training camp in Wichita. It's all just compounding the tragedy, the necessity of answers, and of making sure nothing like this ever happens again. Reporting from Reagan National Airport, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Yeah, still so many unanswered questions there. We are learning that by the end of today, the full list of people who were on the plane when it crashed is expected to be released. But right now, we do know more information. Michelle Beck takes us through what we have so far.
I'll start close to home. Wendy Jo Schaefer was a Minnesota native who was on that flight from Kansas. She went to high school in Mahtomedi and was a mother of 2. A friend told KARE 11 this, quote, "The outpouring of memories, tears, and prayers show just how special Wendy was and the countless lives she touched." Wendy was among the 60 passengers who, alongside 4 crew members, were minutes away from landing at Reagan National Airport. Some of them were promising figure skaters coming back from a training camp in Wichita. The communities they left behind are shaken by their loss.
It's a close, tight bond, and I think for all of us, we have lost family.
Much like everyone here has been saying, is not sure how to process it. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
Also today, we're expecting to learn more about the lives of the 3 U.S. service members who were in the helicopter. Back to you.
Thanks to Michelle for that. And as we learn more about victims and the crash itself, stick with KARE 11. We'll have the latest on air, online, and on KARE 11 Plus. Now, in other news, in a little over an hour, 3 of the men charged in the attack on a Fridley High School basketball player will make their first court appearance. Prosecutors say 5 or 6 people arrived at the varsity basketball game at Robbinsdale Cooper High School Tuesday. Charges say they were seen on camera talking outside before the attack. Some of those in the group are now accused of attacking the teen on the visiting bench with a tire iron and at one point attempted to stab him with a knife. Others waited by the exit before taking off as a group, according to prosecutors. The 3 men were charged with assault and riot. Over in Brooklyn Park, police say they arrested a juvenile after a fight at a sporting event at Park Center High School. Police say they had to use pepper spray to break up multiple fights last night. They say the fights appear to be random and the people didn't previously know each other. Brooklyn Park police say they arrested one person, but he was released to his parents. After years in court, the city of Minneapolis has approved a $600,000 settlement with a woman who was violently arrested by former officer Derek Chauvin. She was left with a cracked tooth and bruises in the incident happening just months before George Floyd's murder. Joy McCoy has a look at what we know in new video from the arrest.
Another grim moment in the history of Minneapolis police has been settled, at least legally.
That was the darkest day of my life.
In May, KARE 11 spoke with Patty Day, who brought an excessive force lawsuit against the city of Minneapolis after an altercation with former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin left her significantly injured.
I had a puncture wound on my left hand that was bleeding and oozing. I had my left front tooth was in half. I had bruises all along my arm and my torso and my legs.
Today, City Council agreed to settle the lawsuit for $600,000. We are now getting a first look at the body camera footage from the arrest.
Get out!
Before this clip, Chauvin and another officer responded to reports of an intoxicated driver pulled to the side of the road. They ordered Day out of her vehicle, and when she didn't immediately comply, they pulled her out. Day admits she had been drinking, but according to the lawsuit, after going a few blocks, she realized she shouldn't be driving and pulled over. The charges against her were dropped when a judge ruled the officers did not have probable cause to arrest and remove her from the vehicle like they did.
It's a significant amount of money that, we could be using to address the major issues that are affecting our residents.
This arrest of Day occurred 4 months before Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd. City council members say it unfortunately wasn't enough of a wake-up call.
The history of abuse that he has essentially waged against so many of our residents, and George Floyd wasn't, unfortunately, the first.
Now, the $600,000 is the 5th payout in cases involving Derek Chauvin since 2020. Those 5 payouts total nearly $40 million. The body cam clips we received are posted in their entirety on KARE11.com. In the last 24 hours, the Minneapolis City Council unanimously approved a plan allowing the city to collect fees from moonlighting officers. These are off-duty officers who work private security while using department squad cars, uniforms, and other city-issued equipment. MPD is expected to come up with a proposal for rates in May, but the city won't start charging those fees until at least next year. Meanwhile, MPD is celebrating a new class of police officers. They were sworn in last night. Let's take a look at where the department's numbers stand now.
Hi, I'm Mariah Katane. City leaders say Minneapolis Police is at a turning point when it comes to new hires and recruitment. The department's first graduation ceremony of the year welcomed 19 new officers. Police Chief Brian O'Hara says they joined 34 others who were also sworn in this year. For the first time in 5 years, MPD ended 2024 with more officers than what they started with. The city says they saw a total of 76 new hires and a 133% increase in applications from the year prior. Minneapolis Police has been operating under an agreement with the state to implement reforms and end racial discrimination when policing. In January, it reached an agreement with the Department of Justice to implement more reforms, but that has not yet been implemented because the judge has not signed off on the document.
This afternoon, Sun Country and the union representing around 800 flight attendants are one step closer to a new contract. That's after more than 5 years of negotiating. The airline and the Teamsters each say they've reached an agreement of principle and plan to have a contract to vote on by next month. Teamsters say it includes a pay bump and protection for staff working holidays. Last summer, 99% of members voted to authorize a strike. Well, listen to this. A new memo sent out to Costco employees says the company will now raise pay for most of its hourly store workers to up to more than $30 an hour. Yeah, the pay hike comes after union members voted in favor of a nationwide strike earlier this month. That strike is planned for tomorrow, but negotiations continue today. It's unclear if the announced pay increase will lead to a deal, though.